All right, welcome to this explainer. If you've recently arrived in Spain and feel like you've just slammed headfirst into a massive wall of paperwork, well, don't worry, because you are exactly in the right place. Today, we're going to act as your personal bureaucracy navigator. We're cutting straight through the noise, skipping all those confusing theoretical detours, and getting right to the core of how to secure your EU family member residence card in Spain. So, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's kick things off with literally the most critical question for any newly arrived foreigner. Which bureaucratic line should you actually be standing in? I know, it sounds super simple, right? But getting this wrong on day one is honestly the most common pitfall we see. There are several different paths for family reunification in Spain, and they all have entirely different rules.
Now, here is a crucial contrast you absolutely must understand before taking a single step further. If your family member is a citizen of another EU or EEA country, or Switzerland, meaning they are not Spanish, you're going to use the EU regime that's governed by the Decree RD 240/2007. But if your family member actually is a Spanish citizen, you do not use this route. Instead, you'd fall under the Spanish national route governed by Instrucción SEM 2/2025. It is incredibly important not to mix up our focus today, the EU regime, with the route for family of Spanish nationals, or with standard general reunification. They are totally distinct procedures.
To get you to the finish line, we've broken this explainer down into a hyper-practical 4-step action plan. We'll confirm the right path, check family eligibility, outline the EU citizens' conditions, tackle the required documents, and finally, look at timelines.
First up, the right path. The official document we're targeting today is the Tarjeta de Residencia de Familiar de Ciudadano de la Unión, which translates to the EU Family Member Residence Card. By falling under the EU regime, specifically RD 240/2007, you are granted way more favorable terms and conditions than those applying through the general immigration regime. It's a hugely advantageous path, assuming you meet the specific criteria we're about to break down. Moving on to step 1, family eligibility.
So, the big question here is whether you fall into one of these specific, legally defined categories. First, are you a spouse? If so, there can be no annulment or divorce in place, meaning you still actually have to be together. Second, you could be a registered partner in an EU or EEA public registry. But a quick heads up, that status is incompatible if you're already married. Third, we have descendants, so children or grandchildren who are under 21 years old or who are dependent. And lastly, dependent ascendants, which basically means parents or grandparents who rely on the EU citizen. Now, what's really interesting here is how strictly the law defines the word dependent, or estar a cargo in Spanish. According to jurisprudence from the Court of Justice of the EU, being dependent isn't just about occasionally sending someone a bit of cash. No, it specifically means there is a real, demonstrable situation where the family member genuinely needs material support from the EU citizen just to cover their basic everyday needs. And that real dependency, that's exactly what you have to be able to prove.
Okay, let's look at step 2, EU citizen conditions.
Your EU relative must actively hold the right to reside in Spain for a period of more than 3 months. To do that, they have to fit into one of these specific economic boxes. They must be employed by a company or they must be self-employed. If they aren't working, that's okay, but they absolutely must demonstrate they have sufficient financial means to support themselves and their family, plus comprehensive health insurance. Finally, they can also qualify as a student as long as they have sufficient resources and, you guessed it, health insurance.
Let's hit step 3, required documents. This is probably the most actionable part of our guide.
You really need to stick strictly to this exact checklist. First, you need absolute proof of your family relationship, like a marriage or birth certificate. But pay super close attention here, because this traps so many expats. That document must be properly apostilled or legalized, depending on where it was issued, and it must be officially translated into Spanish. Second, you just need your valid passport. Honestly, getting these right the first time is completely non-negotiable if you want a smooth process. Now, while some parts of this whole administrative puzzle might let you file online or use a legal representative, the official rules make one thing crystal clear about the final steps. You, the family member, must go in person to the Oficina de Extranjería, or the immigration office. You literally have to be physically present to get your fingerprints taken and to pick up your actual physical residence card. You cannot delegate those specific physical steps to anyone else.
Almost there. Step 4, timelines.
So,
Once your application is properly submitted with all the right paperwork, the official timeline dictates that your card is issued within exactly 3 months. That is the specific time frame the administration is working against under this RD 240/2007 regime.
And honestly, the great news is that once you've successfully navigated this entire bureaucratic maze, the reward is massive. The EU family member residence card you get is usually valid for a full 5 years. That gives you incredible stability and peace of mind to just enjoy your new life in Spain.
Before we wrap up, an important informational disclaimer.
Please keep in mind that everything we've talked about today is purely informational guidance based on the official decree. It is not individual legal advice, and exact requirements can sometimes shift based on your unique situation. The Spanish bureaucratic maze is absolutely solvable, but you've got to be holding the right map. So, what does this all mean for you? Well, it means taking the next step to verify your exact requirements directly at the official source, inclusion.gov.es. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this explainer, and best of luck navigating your new path in Spain.
That was a quick overview. On our website, you'll find step-by-step guides to many procedures: the Padrón, the health card, the NIE, the TIE, legalization, and more. The link is in the description. And if you get stuck, message our Telegram bot. We'll walk you through for free, step by step.